this. So this is a carbon connected to a carbon. So if I just, for simplicity, I'll just draw it on here. We'll put a carbon there, connected to a carbon here, connected to a carbon here, and a carbon there, and another carbon. So then all we have to do is complete the 4 bonds that the carbon can make. And we'll do that because we're not indicating anything else by adding what? Hydrogens. So you would just add on to these carbons H's. So if you look at that molecule now, you should see that every carbon has 4 bonds. Right? If I did it right, it should. So that's chemical abbreviations, all right? And we don't obsess about this, but we do. One of the big things we want you to get out of this whole section on chemistry is the ability to look at an atomic structure, like a molecule and all the lines and letters, and understand on sort of an intuitive level what it's talking about. So anytime you see something up on a carbon that does, I'll draw one here since it was mentioned. If you see anything that has 2 lines, what does that mean? Double bond, 2 shared pairs of electrons. Okay, so all you would do here is you would add into each of these a C, a C, a C, a C, a C, and a C. And then each one of these carbons has space for one more H on it. Yeah.
Well, why is that? Sorry, I have to be that guy.
So no, it's a great question. So remember that we said that double lines indicate 2 shared pairs of electrons. So we used the example of, I don't have one here, but oxygen. When oxygen combines with other oxygen atoms, it makes a molecule where they share 2 pairs of electrons. So each carbon needs to have how many electrons in its outer shell? Total. 8. So if we count them up, 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons. All right? For this carbon, 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8.
Binding with each other as well as with the hydrogen.
Correct. Yes. So you can, all carbons can bind to carbons, to hydrogens, to oxygens, to a whole assortment of different elements. It's just carbon is so abundant, we need a way to abbreviate it because it's a super pain in the ass to draw it up like this. So we just draw it as lines. That's it. Okay? So what I want to do is introduce to you guys what we're going to refer to as the recurring themes of chemistry as it relates to biology. So these recurring themes, though awkwardly worded, will be what we try to anchor our discussion and understanding of biological molecules on. So these are the types of things where I might ask you on an exam, the small chemical pebbles can make big biological waves concept is exemplified by what? And you would give me an example of something that exemplifies this. All right. Now, obviously, I don't expect you to know what any of these mean at this point. But as we go through it, look back to this list, refer to this list. It's in your lecture notes in great and gory detail. And just make sure that for each one of these concepts, you can give me an example of something that demonstrates it. Sound good? Okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is this like dissolves like concept. And in order to talk about like dissolves like, I need to introduce a couple new words to you guys. Are you ready? Hydrophobic and hydrophilic. So let's write these up on the board and then break them down. All right. Hydrophilic. Hydrophobic. So the word hydro means what to you? Hydrogen, or if we talk about hydropower, we're not talking about hydrogen power, we're talking about water. So the hydro tells you we're talking about water. And the philic and phobic tell you what? So this is like. This is dislike. That one feature they want to add to Facebook. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to characterize different molecules as being hydrophilic or hydrophobic. And one of the reasons is that your body is largely water. And in fact, any cell is mostly water. And so all the chemicals of the cell are interacting with water in their environment. And so how they behave around water is super important. And so we can classify things into being either liking water or disliking water. And if they are hydrophilic, that means they associate with water. If they're hydrophobic, that means they won't associate with water. So what better way to exemplify this than something you're already all familiar with? Salad dressing. So how many of you have ever made salad dressing? That's it?
The world mayo ketchup.
When you make salad dressing, or it's made for you, the basic ingredients in any salad dressing, if you look at the label, are going to be water and oil. All right? So typically if they make a salad dressing, they take water, which is very cheap. They take oil, usually a really cheap and abundant type of oil, like soybean oil or canola oil or something like that. And they mix them together, and then they add all this other stuff to it to give it flavor. So even if you look at something like Newman's Own organic olive oil vinaigrette, all right? So olive oil makes you think of what?
Olives.
Olives and olive oil. But it turns out if you actually look at it, oftentimes the first ingredient is not olive oil, it's some cheap oil, and there's a little bit of olive oil, so they can call it olive oil vinaigrette. So what we're going to think about is starting from a base of oil and water. When you add all of these ingredients into water, where do they go? All right? And this will tell us something about whether they're hydrophilic or hydrophobic. Yeah?
Is that anything to do with like insoluble and soluble water? Same concept?
Yes, same concept.